Hello, and welcome to another thrilling episode of Prog Review. And today we're doing this one. This is Dokument number 2. Brian Eno, Laurie Anderson, and Evie Oki. There you go. That's it. Limited to 500 pressings, and I got one. I got number 385 of 500. There you go. So yeah, this was this is a live release. I think it was originally recorded in 2016. Does it say? Yeah, 2016. November the 14th to 19th, 2016 in Copenhagen. You all know Laurie Anderson. You all know Brian Eno. It's Evie Oki. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Who's probably the one we don't know, but he's familiar with Laurie Anderson. I think she used him. Her synth nights at the kitchen in New York City, she got him involved in that, and he sees Eno and Anderson as personal mentors. He's also studied with Stockhausen, so he is an avant-garde-ist, isn't he? And this is very, very avant-garde. Like I say, recorded live, improvised, live improvisational stuff. I was a bit worried. When I got it. I thought, oh, only 500 copies. Can't be any good. It's not even available for streaming. Though I'm sure somebody probably would have uploaded it to YouTube by now. Such is the nature of this digital world. So I thought, this might be good. It might be bad. I was a little bit tentative. You know, is it going to be okay? But I listened to it twice. I enjoyed it so much, I listened to it twice. Yes, it's 3 people noodling, with 2 of them being Eno and Laurie Anderson. I think, again, Laurie Anderson's contribution is probably the most recognisable because there's violin and voice. I mean, there's some Eno voice on there as well. But it's a very electronica. Parts of it reminded me of what's his name, Jean-Michel Jarre's Look album. Some of that, was it Ethnicolor, or whatever it was called, when he mixes voices and rhythms. It harked back to that, and I thought, this because it has a very 80s feel to it in terms of texture. Not saying that's a retrograde thing. Everybody likes analog these days. There's a big push towards analog synthesizers and things like that. But if you'd have told me this was recorded in, 1982, I'd have believed you. Then rather than it being recorded, saying 2016, there's nothing on this that pushes it out as being a modern recording, apart from Eno's singing, because he adopts that lower singing voice now, which I find quite unnerving. He's Taurus singing from kind of down here. It's like, all right, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it is, like I say, improvisational in nature. So, I wouldn't say this is their greatest work, but there's some stuff in there that caught me, that I found interesting, texturally interesting stuff. Not for everyone, obviously, because there's no goblins or mellotrons on it. But it is what it is, and I really like it. And it's these oddities, it's these little things that end up, for me, getting played a lot, that I end up going back to, because they are so not that it's obscure. It's just because it is like a low key release, and because it is. They're on the fringe. They're on the fringe of doing stuff, of making music. More risks are taken, and that's where the interesting stuff is for me. That is, and so, like I said, I played it twice yesterday. Played it, made a cup of tea, played it again, literally back to back, which is unusual. I don't tend to do that kind of thing. I usually play something and then let it percolate, and then go back to it. But this was, I found it nourishing in a way, because it was so out there, because it was so experimental, because it was so on the edge. And again, I think sometimes Eno can be quite safe these days in what he does. And I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. I just think some of his more recent things, I'm thinking stuff like The Ship, and it's quite, it's quite safe, isn't it? Pleasant but safe. Whereas this is uncharted waters. And again, just to hear Laurie Anderson with her violin work, very reminiscent of some of the stuff on Life on a String, which I think is about there. I like it when she uses her violin and with delay and loops and whatnot. I find that again kind of satisfying. It's soul music for me. So yeah, I got a lot out of it. I thought it was fun and loose, and again not serious. And those are the interesting records. And again, you wouldn't necessarily know it was an Eno Laurie Anderson release. Again, if they'd have put somebody else's name on it, you wouldn't necessarily. It hasn't got their fingerprints all over it, if you know what I mean. Other than snippets of their voices and vocals that would give it away. But other than that, they are fairly invisible. It is almost an egalitarian pursuit. All three of them putting their bit in and creating something new and different. Whether it's new, it's more old new, if you know what I mean. Again, if you hear this, it does kind of point you back to the experimental electronic music of the 80s rather than something from now. And I think that is always been the problem with electronic music. If you depending on what technology you use, and it's always going to sound like 70s or 80s. It doesn't really move on, does it? It doesn't really move on because you've got the analog synths of the 70s, and then in the 80s you have the more digital FM based DX7 bell-like tones, and that's always a funny thing about synth music. But yeah. Yeah, so my mind just wandered off there, thinking about synthesizers. Naughty Darren. So yeah, if you can get a chance to get a copy of this, unlikely because it's sold out. I jumped on this like a tramp on chips because I knew it would, because there's only 500 copies. Do pick one up, especially if you like that kind of. I say, if you like Zuluk, I think that is a fair comparison. Again, I was trying to think of things I could compare it to, and again, I wouldn't. But that album was the thing that it reminded me of the most. Yeah, so it's a shame that it's been a limited release. I don't think it's even available on CD. I think it's just this pressing. Like I say, I'm hoping that somebody's put it up somewhere, just so everyone can have a listen. Otherwise, I'm reviewing something that only 499 other people have heard. Wow, that's niche for you. I'm bringing you. So if I get like 499 views on this video, unlikely. That means I've served everyone that's heard the album. Oh dear, how strange. But anyway, thanks for watching. I've been talking about Dokument 2 with Brian Eno, Laurie Anderson and E.B. Oki, and yeah, I thought it was good fun. Won't frighten the horses, but I enjoyed it, and that's the important thing. It gets I'm going to give it 4. Oh crikey, I ain't got any documents out of 5. 4 documents out of 5. I'm not going to point off because it's been so bloody expensive for what it is. Because these things aren't they? They are expensive. You pay top dollar for the vinyls. Anyway, thank you for watching. My name's Anderon. There's only one more thing left to say. And by now, you should know what that is. And that is Prog on.